Okay, that's a compelling argument. Counterpoint. Human ingenuity is limited only by our technological sophistication. There's no stopping the march of progress, old man. You can play Bretonnia if that's what's more familiar to you. For me and the audience, we're gonna be busy playing with the brand new toys I've got. Roll tape.
Welcome back to another showcase of my latest update for Deithland, an Empire roster overhaul. You thought I was done, didn't you? Well, I'm back again with some more tools of destruction for your perusal or refusal. But I don't think you'll be turning your nose up at anything I've got. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. So base game Empire has 4 artillery units, excluding Regiments of Renown, which brings it to 6. I got a little carried away with my mod and made
10! Yeah! Yeah! Why are there so many? Yeah! Oh! Dead!
What? Yes. 10. 10 new artillery units that make the base game Empire look like potato cannons and bottle rockets. And I think we'll start with these ones. Hush! It's about to start.
Well, that opens the ball.
We're starting off with cannons, and we've got a few to pick from. At the most basic, we have the culverins, 24-pounder cannons that are sort of like the Empire Great Cannons, but a bit different. Those things are actually bombards, meant for siege warfare, while these are proper cannons built for battle, with a higher muzzle velocity and reload speed to compensate for the lower damage. Next up, the Nell guns, your intermediate 12-pounder cannons. You don't need your vision checked. That is a double-barreled cannon that you're looking at. Not only is it based off of a real-life cannon that you can actually visit down in Athens, Georgia, it almost freaking worked. Almost. They also have an alternative ammo type, chain shot, which, if you know, you know, but I'll explain it further in a moment. Suffice to say, it's got a wider hitbox and makes light infantry regret their life choices up to now. After them, we have the Drake Biters, the real long-range sniper cannons. This is your solution to any extra big headaches that may move just a little too fast for the culverins or the Nell guns to train a bead on. Equipped with a specialized scope for taking accurate, long-distance shots, it'll shred anything large at a distance so great you won't even see where it landed. And last on the list of cannons are the mountain guns. A little gun whose bore is as small as its Napoleon complex is big. This is going to be your early game cannon, but it's got some neat tricks that can keep it useful well into a campaign. For one thing, vanguard deployment, hide, and woodsman. That makes these boys an ambush-capable artillery piece, allowing you to hide them in the woods and wheel them out to flank the enemy when it's least convenient for them. The culverins might not be quite as powerful as great cannons shot for shot, but they're still fit for use against infantry, monsters, towers, walls, fortifications, anything you'd normally point the great cannons at. So you shouldn't have any problem making good use of these to dish out some heavy direct fire. Like I said, the muzzle velocity is higher, and they can keep the barrage coming with a higher reload speed. I think I might have given them more ammo too. I forgot. Other than that, there's not much to say. If you like the original Empire Great Cannons, I guarantee you'll love the culverins, or your powder back, guaranteed. The Nell gun fills a similar role to the culverins, though it lacks the longer range. They make up for it, of course, by firing 2 shots at once, excellent against units full of armored infantry, just like the culverins. If you've got a mess of lightly armored infantry running at you, like goblins or chaos marauders, that is your cue to whip out the
Angry Slinky.
These things have a wider hitbox than the cannonballs, being able to cast a larger net when it makes contact with the enemy formation. If that seems a little too situational, well then, look at this. They come with a custom contact effect, Lacerated, which inflicts a speed debuff to enemy units. It's actually pretty handy if you've got something huge like a giant or a dread saurian coming at you, and you want to buy your men another 30 seconds to say their prayers. I've got a better tool to use against those, however, and it actually pairs pretty well with the Nell guns in that regard. So if you've never heard of a falconet, it's a smaller bore cannon that was popular in the 14th, 15th, and 16th centuries for being light, easy to load, aim, and fire, as well as its operators being able to pack more ammo for it. But what does that mean for you? Well, let's say there's a big stupid dragon making a beeline for your fragile artillery units. It's gonna fly right over your front line, belly flop on your artillery units, and by the time the Pyre Hulks chase it off, it's already destroyed half your heavy guns, sent the crews running, and voided the warranties. Not ideal. With the Drake Biters in play, however, you never have to worry about that alternate timeline ever again. Now, you can simply delete these overgrown flying worms from the air, kicking them out of the dominion of God forever. He will thank you for the pest control.
From the glorious kingdom of heaven.
Speaking of tactical application, the mountain guns are ready to pull a hat trick whenever you need them, lying in wait wherever on the map you can hide them. Each battery has 6 cannons to a unit instead of 4, allowing you to lay down a fast-firing barrage of light cannon shot that I guarantee will make any enemy start having second thoughts about accosting you, especially in the early game. They're also highly mobile, able to reposition quickly on flanks to absolutely destroy anything trying to rip your infantry apart. Just be careful the guns don't become the ones doing the ripping. Mr. 2-pounder is not your friend once the fuse is lit. They're also cheap, the perfect thing to outfit lighter armies tasked with defending inland territory with. Unless, of course, you're expecting the end times and the armies of chaos showing up on your doorstep, which I've got some tools that can help with that as well. Let me show you. I'm gonna go get some snacks. You want anything? Sure. This used to be a nice theater. Oh, this one's a classic.
20mm, take it out!
Kinda gives me an idea.
At last, carnage!
So, the Warriors of Chaos came down from the north, stomped Kislev into dust, and are looking at you like... What do you do? Well, I know that field guns aren't everyone's cup of tea, but I've got a couple new ones that I think you'll at least want to give a try, especially when I show you the twist I've got for them. This is the Vinderbane Crank Cannon, your anti-infantry option that lobs explosive shells downrange at mobs of enemies to devastating effect. It's based on the 1872 Hotchkiss revolving cannon, which did roughly the same thing. This one is a bit smaller and lighter, with a decent fire rate that'll make light work of infantry blobs. It also has canister shot, which turns it into a revolving shotgun cannon. If you're going up against targets that weigh more than a small car, and are about as large or larger, however, I've got these, the Auto Falcons. The Auto Falcons represent one of the pinnacles of Deithland's firearm sophistication, the action powered by a miniaturized steam hammer that's slamming away inside the receiver. giving you a steam-powered, full-auto field cannon. They're chambered in the same armor-piercing round as the 𝒖💔💂💍, but have a smaller explosive warhead to assist against comparatively lighter large units like cavalry. If you've used the Hellblaster at all, you know how potentially devastating it is when positioned correctly and used effectively. The 𝒏𝒔𝒕💔 is no different, offering some great fire support against any and all infantry, the explosions dealing armor-piercing damage that ensure that even armored infantry, like Black Orcs or Marauder Champions, get knocked down like bowling pins. Speaking of knockdown, the explosion radius is pretty generous as well. Whoever is unlucky enough to get hit directly might get the worst of it, but his friends are going to catch flak too. You can think of this gun as a medieval Mark 19 grenade launcher, only probably more economic on ammunition. Once the enemy closes in, however, you might consider switching over to the canister shot, which has a shorter range but does extra armor-piercing damage, the spread allowing it to hit multiple models, making it even better against armored infantry. To put it more plainly, explosive shot is best against lighter infantry, with canister being better at taking down armored foes. They're pretty interchangeable though, just use what the situation demands, and be mindful of friendly fire. The Auto Falcon, on the other hand, is somewhere between an M2 Browning 50 cal and a 20mm 2cm flak 30, able to lay down suppressive fire while also dealing incredible damage to large enemies with direct hits. It comes loaded with armor-piercing rounds, each kept with a small explosive warhead that helps against more tightly packed large units like cavalry. I'd say it's especially devastating against monstrous infantry or monstrous cavalry, able to take down trolls, ogres, zotes, and can even focus fire down large single-entity units like hydras and toad dragons. Its main drawback would be the range, which, at 225, is the shortest of all the artillery I have here. So if you want to knock out a unit of dragon ogres or chaos trolls before they start making a mess of your front line, your window isn't as big as if you were using the 𝒏𝒔𝒕💔 or any of the cannons. Speaking of which though, if you wanted to, you could pair the Auto Falcons with Cinderwind, or the Nelgun's Chain Shot to slow down any large target, buying you some extra time to put golf ball-sized holes in them. And if you want to use these against infantry anyway, I won't stop you there either. I know the temptation. But maybe that's not enough for you. Maybe you're saying, Doc, they're still so situational, and once the enemy gets up close, they're useless. And that's a good point. Hellblasters do have this problem. Here's my solution. The armored 𝒏𝒔𝒕💔 and Auto Falcons. It's the same gun, but they now fill out a whole new niche as combat artillery. You can see there that they're not being operated by your average artillery crew. They've got 𝒖💔💂💂 crewmen backing them up, instead of regular crewmen. This means you can put them on the front lines or on your flanks, and they'll be just fine, so long as you keep an eye on them and make sure they're not getting overwhelmed. The individual crewmen are a little weaker than the 𝒖💔💂💂 with volley gauntlets, with less armor and morale, but of course make up for it by having yet again another incredibly powerful ranged weapon. They each also come with the directional shield attribute like the steam tank, giving them some serious missile defense at the front, less at the sides, and even less in the back, as well as the charge breaker attribute, which should give you a bit more confidence in putting them on the front line, as they can neutralize a cavalry charge for your infantry, after which they can all dogpile and kick the tar out of them. And once they're routed, just reman the guns, aim, and shoot them in the back. It's not honorless, they'd do it to you if they could, and you gotta be willing to do what it takes to win. Sometimes, though, even your best isn't enough. Cannons, automatic weapons, even crank-operated grenade launchers can't solve all your problems. That is when you break out the big guns.
Ripper, you little! Holy dooly!
Doc over, you are wanted in Theater 1.
Ripper, you little piece of piss! Such ya!
Ain't no rest for the wicked, eh, boys?
Uriam nachren!
couldn't wait even a minute, Grandpa? Well, what'd I miss? Ah. You're on to something. Okay, so things have gotten progressively worse. You might have beat the Norskins on their home turf, you might have done 𝒖𝒔𝒊𝒄𝒂𝒍 a solid and sent the warriors of chaos packing, but now Khorne has made it inland and is knocking on your front door. What are you gonna do about it? Well, if I can nudge you in the right direction, here's a couple suggestions. When the homeland is threatened, our response must be, and will be, overwhelming. Introducing the Cinderbell Howitzers. The Empire Mortar has been hitting the gym, and got so swole that he needs a crew of guys in steam-powered power armor to cart him around. Thankfully, he makes up that bulk in sheer firepower, able to lob huge explosive shells clear across the map with relative accuracy. Even if it doesn't land a direct hit, the splash damage is enough to blast enemies apart, give them permanent hearing damage, and set off every car alarm from here to Nuremberg. It also has an alternate ammo type, Cinderwind airburst shells, which can blanket a big chunk of the battlefield in Deithland's signature chemical weapon. But guess what? The Hellstorm rocket battery has been hitting the squat rack too, and has become the 𝒂𝒊𝒄𝒂𝒍 rocket battery. Now, stop me if you've heard this one before. The problem with Hellstorms is they can sometimes be as deadly to you as they are to the enemy if you're not paying attention. Their bloodlust is so unquenchable that they don't care if they have to shoot through your own units to hit the enemy. They'll do it if it means they get to watch orcs and goblins explode into little green chicken nuggets. The 𝒂𝒊𝒄𝒂𝒍, on the other hand, have some built-in safety features that play to its other mechanics. There's a lot going on with this weapon, so pay attention as we get into it. So I anticipate the Cinderbell Howitzers becoming your chief backline artillery unit, as simple to use as they are devastating. Got infantry you want turned into mist? Got you covered. Need a hole punched in the wall? Done. Easy. Towers and fortifications? Forget about it. Dust. All of it. And if your infantry need close fire support far afield, just switch over to the Cinderwind shells and help them out. Remember, your boys are kitted out to handle it. It won't hurt them. Also, being that they're operated by guys in Pyrohold suits, any enemy that manages to crash through your lines is still going to have to deal with the crews. There's fewer of them though, and the actual guns are still a bit fragile, so mind yourself. It's still not a good idea to let enemies crowd your artillery, not just because they can prevent them from firing. The 𝒂𝒊𝒄𝒂𝒍s are a bit more complicated, and take a little extra attention if you want to fully utilize them. Number 1, the main rockets. These things are impressive, having an absurd range at 500, the furthest in the whole game. They are also larger, having a bigger explosion than the Hellstorms, and fire 4 rockets per volley at base rather than 3. The drawbacks to that are that they are less accurate and reload slower, being more like 𝒖𝒔𝒂𝒍 rockets that lay absolute devastation to a large area indiscriminately. These rockets are best put to use against large infantry blobs at extreme ranges, being able to get a couple full volleys off before they're out of range. Even if one misses its intended target, there's a good chance it'll veer off and hit a nearby unit. It's also, of course, very effective against hostile buildings, able to crumple walls, towers, and fortifications like cardboard. It's also got a unique projectile, the Drake Catcher, a custom airburst munition that fires out a massive net over flying targets, hitting them with a speed debuff. Originally, I wanted it to only affect large flying units, hitting them with the rampage effect. That wasn't technically possible, at least I couldn't figure out how to do it. In practice though, it was also kind of overpowered, so instead it hits enemies with the same speed debuff as the Nell guns. This makes it pair well with the Drake Biters, giving them a little extra time to fire more rounds into something big and dangerous like a dragon as it hangs in the air. Eventually though, your enemies are going to get close enough where the crews wisely stop trying to fire the main rockets, to keep from committing an accidental war crime. That is when you hit this ability right here and activate the built-in grenade launcher, turning the 𝒂𝒓𝒂𝒍 into a light mortar system with its own ammo pool. Where the minimum range on the rockets stops, the maximum range on the mortars begins, allowing you to give your infantry backline fire support against archers and other ranged units that are sitting far behind their melee units. If the blob pressing against your infantry is thick enough, you can also rain death down on them with a relatively small amount of friendly fire. If you're a good commander who values the lives of his troops, however, you'll switch over to the Cinderwind grenades and give them covering fire that way. All of these tools combined ensure that the 𝒂𝒓𝒂𝒍 remains in use at every stage of the battle. It takes a bit more micromanaging than the Cinder Bells to maintain that efficacy, but if you can manage remembering to hit a couple buttons once in a while, this thing will do the work for you. It also has Pyrehull crews, because of course it does. Could you lift that thing? I couldn't, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. That's all the new units I have to show you, but, stick around. I've done some work on the units I've already made that you should see. The Chem Lancers have gotten some tweaks, their armor going from 60 to 90, while remaining just as fast. I've also rebalanced the drilling guns a bit. They shouldn't act like weapons of mass destruction anymore. I've touched up the animations on some of the units that needed it as well, having learned a bit more about them. For one thing, the Deithland with shields. I fixed their firing effects, giving them one that actually included a muzzle flash. That means Gov, Smoke, and Gunpowder mod is not a requirement anymore. You don't need this mod if you don't want it. I've also added low poly and super low poly models to most of the units, so performance should be a lot better. Fingers crossed. The weapon teams have gotten some tweaks as well. For one thing, the mortar muskets have had their firing arc fixed. They won't fire straight up in the air anymore, sticking to a low arc from now on. The Cinderwind grenades have had their explosion force removed, so they won't knock your infantry around anymore. They've each also gotten some firing position tweaks, ensuring that the muzzle flashes are actually coming out of the barrel and not far ahead. Namely for the mortar muskets, Danzigers, and the Hellbores. Speaking of the Hellbores, the flintlock recoilless rifles, they are now actually recoilless. I also gave them a backblast effect, so make sure nobody's standing behind them when they start firing. Same thing goes for the Cinderwind arbalests. And finally, the Pyrehull's got some retouching too. The volley gauntlet's muzzle flash not only comes out of the correct spot, but they now also turn their arm 90 degrees to fire it, like I originally envisioned. The Fuselaxes got the same deal. The angle of the rifles now looking a bit more reasonable, and with the muzzle flash in the correct spot. Now, the next time you go monster hunting or crashing through a gate in a siege, your boys in steam-powered power armor can do it in style, looking good and proper while smashing in the faces of whoever you point them at. A lot like I expect you to smash the like button, subscribe, and comment down below. If you want to do more than that, however, I do have a Patreon open. Members of all tiers get access to beta testing for new versions of the mod before public release, making you part of the design process. You also get access to the workshop, where I post updates and sneak peeks of what I'm working on. Could be screenshots, could be videos, you never know. Once again, the mod itself is totally free, and is available for download on the Steam Workshop page, link in the description. Mess around with it in custom battles, conquer the entire Immortal Empires map, do whatever you like. It's part of your army now. I've also added a direct download of the latest version for non-Steam users, with installation instructions included. A special thanks goes out to all my patrons. I'm very appreciative that you want to support my work in such a direct, meaningful way. Some of you joined before I even had any benefits, which I'll take as a sign I'm doing something right. Thanks also to the users on the Modding Den Discord. Many of them helped me figure certain things out, shared their knowledge, and provided some great documentation on the use of the tools used to make the mod. I also owe some thanks to Gensec and Nightsaber, the creators of the Millennium mod. I can't imagine how I would have gotten the Vinderbanes and Autofalcons working without their help. Thank you for watching, and be sure to keep an eye out for future updates and videos of mine. I enjoy making my ideas into things that people can actually use and interact with. And I especially enjoy all the positive feedback you've all given me. It's been very encouraging. I think I'm gonna stick to smaller content updates and videos as I move on to war machines. I admit I got a bit carried away making the artillery. It was just one idea after another as I was cranking them out. I think 10 units is more than enough to round out Deithland's artillery roster. 11 technically, if you think of the coffer glares as 2 and 1. That'll do for now. See you next time.